So my name is Marijn van Wezel. I work for Wiki-based Solutions, and I'm going to talk a bit about our newest work-in-progress extension, WikiGuard. So an overview. First, I'm going to talk about the problem which we currently have with MediaWiki and access control. Then I'm going to talk about what the requirements would be for an extension that would, I don't know, maybe not fix access control, or maybe not, but provide a way to have better support for access control. Then I'm going to talk about the solution that fulfills all of these requirements. Then I'm going to talk a bit about policies. So policies, already a preview of what the solution will be, but then I'm going to give a short demo, and then there's time for some questions, hopefully. So the problem. Most corporate environments or most corporations want some kind of flexible access control. They want to be able to say, these employees have access to these resources under these conditions. And currently MediaWiki does not really offer that. MediaWiki offers group rights access control. So you can have groups, you can have rights, and you can assign rights to certain groups. And that's, for the most part, what you can do. Of course, there are some existing extensions, but these are all limited in some kind of way. For instance, they, like MediaWiki, only work based on user groups. They can only be configured through PHP, which is unfortunate because then you have to get a sysadmin to edit your local settings, or you need to, yeah, it's just not that nice to work with. Or they can only block entire namespaces. You can say, okay, I don't want this namespace to be editable by everyone outside of the group sysop, but or they do not offer the flexibilities that some wikis require. So that's kind of a point that also is in the other points, but yeah, we'll see. So what would be the requirements for an extension that fixes all of these points? But to make MediaWiki a viable alternative to, say, Confluence, we need an extension that would work for arbitrary sets of users. So you don't want to have to assign users certain groups, or have to manually assign them to be a bureaucrat or a sysop. It should be configurable to special pages on the wiki. I'll take a sip of water real quick. The permission should also be applicable to arbitrary sets of pages. So you would not just namespaces or just this particular space, but yeah. And such an extension should easily be extendable by administrators who require more. So the solution that we came up with WikiGuard is to use permission policies. But what are permission policies? So a permission policy is an ordered set of rules that can be applied to actions on certain objects. But that's somewhat vague, so I'm going to explain what it means now. A policy will determine if a user should be able to execute a certain action on a page. So for instance, a view action, and it evaluates those policies whenever you visit the page. A rule is an if then else that changes the outcome of a policy. So a policy is a set of rules, an ordered set of rules, which gets evaluated from top to bottom. And it matches those rules, and whenever a rule matches, it changes the outcome of a policy. So what does that exactly mean? If the user is an administrator, then we allow it to do the thing it wants to do. Or if the moon is full, well, then it might be a werewolf, so we deny them, otherwise we allow them. Actions are just actions defined by MediaWiki. View, delete, edit, etc. And an object is a scope, so a scope of pages. currently that's, I will update soon. Okay. Currently that's only the
request that to face only forward. If you turn and look up at the screen,
sorry.
I can't hear you as well.
Okay. So an object is either the entire wiki, a namespace, or a specific page. We will want to support arbitrary scopes, but that's currently not yet supported. So I'm going to talk a bit about rule evaluation, how the evaluation of these rules work. And okay. So like I said in the previous slide, a rule is an if then else block. So I don't know if you know a bit about, yeah, probably you do, but a rule consists of an antecedent, which is like the predicate, then a consequent or an alternative. So basically the predicate is the part behind the if, then you have the then, that is the consequent, and you have an alternative in an optional else block. So if the antecedent of the rule evaluates to true, then we apply the thing in the then block. If it evaluates to false and there is an alternative, so the alternative is not required, then we apply the alternative. Rules are processed in order from top to bottom, but I will show you in an example in just a bit. Like I said, a matching rule changes the outcome of a policy, and any matching rule that's so if there is already an outcome and another rule matches, then the outcome is overridden. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say that Bob wants to edit the main page of acme.wiki. So this is Bob. We know that Bob registered over 3 months ago, or exactly 3 months ago, sorry. We know that Bob made 300 edits. And we know that Bob is an administrator. Now the following policy is going to be applied on the edit action for the main page. So if a user made more than 1,000 edits, then we allow them, otherwise we deny them. However, if they are registered over 6 months ago, then we allow them. And if they're an administrator, then we also allow them. So remember what I said. Okay, can Bob perform the edit? Rules are evaluated from top to bottom. So we first look at, did Bob make more than 1,000 edits? Well, no, he made 300 edits, so we deny them. Now we check, is Bob registered over 6 months ago? No, so we do nothing. Now we check, is Bob an administrator? Yes, he is. So we allow him. So can Bob perform the edit? Yes, he can. Now I'm going to talk quickly about policy evaluation. So policies are applied to objects. An object is either a page, a namespace, or the wiki. If you apply an object to a page, or sorry, if you apply a policy to a page, then that policy inherits the policies of its namespace and the policies of the entire wiki. So policies applied to the wiki apply to all pages. Policies applied to a specific namespace only apply to pages within that namespace. And policies applied to a page only apply to that particular page. Policies are also evaluated from top to bottom. So if we define some policy that blocks the user in the wiki, but then we have a specific page where we do want to have the user access that page, then we apply a policy to that page that allows the user again. And now I'm going to quickly talk about the elephant in the room, because I know probably everyone was thinking this. MediaWiki is not yet ready for view blocking. So that's unfortunate. We, I think there has been some work on trying to better it, but not really. I'm not quite sure about it, but it's not really made for blocking views, blocking actions, and blocking edits. That's supported fine. So for now, blocking views with WikiGuard, it is possible, but it should be seen as nothing to see, move along. Because context control, so you can hide certain pages which you don't want the user to see. But you shouldn't really put super sensitive information on those pages, because there are ways to still view those pages. So now I'm going to quickly give a demo. I'm going to sit down for it. Okay. So I have this wiki running locally with WikiGuard installed. I'm going to log in as admin this time. So for the first example, we have I called it privacy policy, which you only want administrators to edit. So this page has its edit policy set to only administrators. If we click on edit policies here, we can see that it inherits all of its policies for all the other actions except for editing a page, which is set to only administrators. So I didn't talk about this, but you have a couple of basic policies, which is everyone, no one, and only administrators. And you then have those custom policies, which consist of those rules. So I am an administrator, I'm admin, I can edit this page. But if I log out and log in as Alice, then I can no longer edit the page. I should have stayed logged in for this, but we have a second demo that says that's Alice's notes, and that has its edit policy set to policy Alice only. So we go to edit policies. Oh, I'm not logged in as admin, so I can't edit the policies. So it's Alice only. If I go to so this really shows that it's still in beta. We don't have a nice interface yet to create policies, so it's just a JSON content model. But basically we have a rule, has username, that checks if the user that is trying to execute the action has a certain username. If they do, then we set policy evaluation to true, so they allow. Otherwise we set it to false, and we supply some parameters, which is a list of usernames that only contains Alice. So this is just JSON. We could add other users here to allow not only Alice, but also someone else. So I'm logged in as admin, but if I log in as Alice, we would be able to edit this page. So I also have this page, which is also Alice's notes, but this is a little bit different. We have the same rule, but instead of allowing if they match and then not allowing if they don't match, we negate the rule and then just don't allow if the negated rule matches. So basically does not have username Alice, then we disallow it. So this page has its edit policy set to no one. No one should be able to edit this page. Even an administrator cannot edit this page. I'm not sure why it's okay. Doesn't matter. So this is an example that shows when you have multiple rules, these rules are evaluated from top to bottom. So if this rule matches, and if the negated rule matches, then we set it to false. Otherwise, we do nothing. And if this rule matches, we set it to true. Otherwise, we do nothing. So I'm an admin. I can edit this, but if I log out and go back, I can't edit this because I'm not logged in and I'm not Alice and I'm not an admin. But if I log in as Alice again, I can edit it. Then we have a secret page. This page has its okay. Has its view policy set to no one, so no one can access this page. But like I said, there are some ways around this. I know of a few ways, but well, there's a list of possible access points, and there are still some leaks in it. But okay. So this is an interesting one. This one is in the. Did you have a question? Oh, okay. This page is in the restricted namespace. So the namespace of this demo page has its edit policy set to no one. So no one should be able to edit pages in the restricted page. In the restricted namespace. However, we did want Alice to edit this specific page in the restricted namespace. So we overrode the namespace's edit policy to allow Alice. So if we, right, I'm not logged in, but basically the edit policy has allow Alice. Go back to my slides. And that was it for my presentation. So are there any questions? Are any questions? Hop in maybe.
Yeah. Let me ask you first. So sorry, it's very awkward to read it from my computer because I can't remember it. First question is, when will support be added for arbitrary scopes for objects?
I'm not sure about that yet, but we first want to have the interface better, and there's still some bugs in it, so we'll work on that first. Then we'll work on arbitrary scopes because it's less of a priority.
No worries. Yeah. And if you were to introduce arbitrary scopes, what would an arbitrary scope be like? What is the scope of arbitrary scopes?
Okay, yeah. So an arbitrary scope, how I see it, is just like kind of like a namespace, but then it doesn't really have an explicit namespace tag. You just say this page, and this page.
Okay.
Belong to this scope. So there are some difficulties in like having that hierarchy, because it doesn't really make sense to have for an arbitrary scope with pages in multiple namespaces to inherit its policies from the namespace. So I'll have to think about how to solve that.
And then could categories be considered an arbitrary scope?
Yeah.
One? Okay, cool. What's the numerical limit of the number of policies that can be evaluated?
I didn't do any research on this, of course, but if I apply some caching, there currently isn't any, but I think you could have, well, the hierarchy is only 3 policies always, but like a policy can have, I think, hundreds of rules, and it would still be quite fast.
Good, cool, okay. I think the last question I have is, can WikiGuard be used independently of any other extensions, or does it require OpenCSP or just some other components of OpenCSP to be installed first?
No, it's completely independent.
Okay.
If I also go to the test wiki I just had. So WikiGuard is the only extension that's here.
Impressive. Yeah. And then I mentioned one thing regarding the elephant in the room. I would say we shouldn't be fazed by that elephant because at the end of the day, this is what our customers need.
Yes.
Especially my customers. They always ask me, like, can you install this, permissions-based extension? Can you install that one? And they're very confused by it, and they're not happy with the existing options. So I think, this is what our customers need. I'm very excited to see this. And when there's a will, there is a way, and this is the way.
Yeah, thank you, and I agree.
Yeah. And then Yaron asked the question just now.
First in the back.
Just a tiny question. Have you considered some sort of an overview page, or you don't use control overview?
You can repeat the question.
Okay. The question was whether there was an overview page. I think like some kind of extension page on MediaWiki. Is that what you mean, or like in the slides? Oh, like that. Okay, sorry.
Repeat the question, Marijn.
Yes. So the question was whether there was, for policies, an overview page, and what kind of policies would be applied to a page. Not yet, but we want to add that.
And Jeroen's question is, when will it be released?
I don't know yet.
A little bit more accurate than Marijn. Can you give us a wild guess?
Within 20 years. Within 20 years.
Well, no, but I think the reactions to Marijn's presentation are important, because if everybody would say, well, okay, it looks nice, but let's move on, then it's different. When everybody feels like Jeffrey, so we might have a small poll. Just Bernard, can you make a poll? Can you? Is Jeffrey right when he says we want this, and where there's a will, there's a way?
So there was another question.
Based on MediaWiki, there's semantic ACL, access control, which is also quite nice tool, but of course it depends on the MediaWiki.
Right.
Do you think there's a chance to combine both? Because I mean both have valid points.
So I haven't used Semantic ACL myself yet, so I can't really say anything about it, but I can look into it, and we might be able to combine it somehow. But we might also be able to maybe add Semantic MediaWiki based policy rules to WikiGuard. So rules just a class in PHP, and I can add new rule types if I want to.
So you also use the hook user can.
Yes, yeah. So it's basically user can and some other hooks. Yeah, but new rules can easily be added. I hope screen sharing didn't stop because my laptop went to sleep. It did. Well, there isn't really anything useful on the screen anymore. But okay, thank you for your question. I think that can be combined, but I'm not quite sure about it.
Sorry, I'd like to add a small elephant to the big elephant. How many people in here have actually implemented ACL solutions for real-world customers? Because, and I just dare to say this, I've done this before, and my experience is that everybody claims they need it, then you implement it, then you explain your fantastic fine-grained, I was even thinking of depending access control on result of ask queries. They would have to have hyperdynamic. The moment they have to deal with it, they stop using it.
Lex, if you ask a question like this, you really have to go there.
I'm sorry.
What's the question, Lex?
No, the question is just, it has to be kept reasonably simple.
Yes.
Because I'm also carried away by, this fascination of making super fine-grained stuff. But I just made the experience with system administrators that the day you leave that office again, they will just, they try to implement it, but at the end of the day, one final end user will complain, I cannot edit, I cannot whatever. And instead of spending time of resolving the issue, they just open it again. This is against my idealism, but it's my experience.
Or they're using another different system where it's possible and complain there.
No, it's just really access control. At the end of the day, people want to. This is like password quality. We tell everyone use good passwords. The moment they forget it, they go back to New York or Paris, or whatever.
So we have another poll, because we thought the same thing. So we are thinking about not calling it policy-based access control, but policy-based context control. So the focus then will be not to control access, but to control the context, so that users have the experience that they want, and that fits their role and their context.
Okay.
So that's it. But I think you can use the same policy management stuff to do that. So that's what we are thinking of. So that might be a second.
Okay, one more very short comment before your question. because one thing that I would recommend is to probe the wiki and ask any scope, like the page or the namespace of the wiki entire, can this be seen? And by whom can it be seen? And why can it be seen? But at the fingertip. Because if it's easy to resolve, I might bring up the willpower to spend the time to learn this. But if I have to dig into other pages and then to figure out why, that was my experience with the end users. Because Blue Spice has a phenomenal access control module, but it was too complex for the customers I took care of.
Okay.
Just as make it simple to use. It's great. I love it. I'm looking forward to it, but keep simplicity at the forefront. My recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
How do you test it?
You mean
To know whether the policy you set up actually works the way you think it should.
right? Well, you should just
Okay,
ask the
yeah.
user now, but I don't know. Maybe there can be some kind of way to mock, like do a fake evaluation of a policy. I can look into that, but currently it's just asking the user if they have access.
I think you asked the question because you know how.
No.
No?
Running Python script and edit policies and try to.
I think it's important.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
And right, make it visual.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
You know,
So the
follow
visual,
lines.
it's really lacking now, but I'm hoping to make it a lot better. It's really early beta still.
Okay, Marijn. Yeah, thank you. Well, yeah.
One comment. That security is very hard to add at the end of the process instead of at the start. And this is why it's so difficult. It's one of the reasons it's so difficult.
So that's why we are probably going to call it context control instead of access control. And if that's what people want in the end, so that's
One comment. So I totally agree that it has to be simple. And I would say in every organization there's maybe one mechanism of granting access. So sometimes it's the business unit, sometimes it's the project scope, and sometimes maybe it's the content scope. And maybe it's enough to implement one. So in my view, doing research, and it's all about project. And
so also keep it simple. Yeah, but then
enough
yeah.
one project. And
We have to. Yeah, I have to keep track of the program.
Okay.
So the break starts. Thank you very much, Marijn. Food for